For 7 years, Leah had mastered the art of being unseen, a ghost in the silver mines who attracted no notice from the guards or fellow prisoners. She concealed her platinum blonde hair under a grimy scarf, kept her fair skin covered against the oppressive heat of the deep tunnels, and always cast her violet-flecked eyes downward, lest anyone glimpse the defiant spirit she fought to keep alive. Slaves who stood out were quickly broken in the Stonefang pack, and Leah had endured by becoming utterly forgettable. Tonight, she was assigned to inspect the deep mines, a job reserved for the most obedient slaves. It offered solitude in the darkness, where the foolish might dream of escape. Leah had abandoned such fantasies long ago. All surrounding packs had pacts with Stonefang to return runaways. The woods teemed with rogues who would prey on a lone shifter. Even if she reached neutral land, what would she do? She was without a pack, family, or any means of survival. The brand on her shoulder, a mark of ownership that seared her skin whenever she shifted, declared her as property. Fleeing meant dying exhausted rather than dying here. At least in the mines, she knew what horrors to expect. She moved with her lantern through the lowest tunnels, checking the integrity of support beams and flagging unstable rock formations. The Stonefang pack had built its power on the wealth from these silver mines, enabling them to challenge even the most established packs. They worked their slaves to death, then simply captured more from the territories they conquered. Leah was a product of their cruelty, taken at 15 when Stonefang warriors annihilated her pack over a territorial dispute. She pushed away memories of that day, of her beta parents dying to shield the young, of her little brother Leo, who survived the attack only to perish from lung sickness in the foul air of the mines. She tried not to dwell on the life she was meant to have, a future stolen because the Stonefang Alpha valued a stream more than peace. A sound reached her as she neared a sealed-off section, a part of the mine abandoned 3 years prior after a collapse claimed 5 lives. It was a faint noise, nearly swallowed by the perpetual dripping of water and the groaning of the earth. But Lee's senses were honed by years of avoiding eye contact, attuned to things others missed. It was a whimper of pure agony, originating from beyond the barricaded passage. Leah froze, her heart hammering against her ribs. No one should be back there. The area was dangerously unstable, marked with warnings that even the guards obeyed. Nothing lived in those dead tunnels. Yet the sound came again, fainter this time, and her grip tightened on the lantern. She should ignore it, finish her rounds, and return to the barracks, pretending she heard nothing. Involvement was a death sentence, a lesson she had learned well over 7 years. But that desperate cry resonated with her wolf, the part of her that slavery had not entirely crushed. It was the part that remembered pack, remembered compassion, and remembered the duty to aid the suffering, even when survival screamed otherwise. The barricade was old and neglected. The wooden planks were so rotted that Leah pried them apart with little effort. The guards had grown complacent, certain no slave would dare explore a forbidden, collapsing tunnel. They were almost always correct. But Leah had already made a choice. If she was to die in this subterranean prison, she would rather it be for a reason than to slowly waste away from silver poisoning and despair. The tunnel beyond was treacherous, with deep fissures in the walls and a sagging ceiling that made her skin crawl. She moved with caution, testing the ground with each step, her lantern held high. The whimpering echoed off the stone, making it difficult to pinpoint its source, but she followed it deeper into the condemned section, navigating around fallen rock and through passages that should have sent her fleeing. She discovered him in a chamber once used for interrogations, a small, airless room with iron shackles bolted to the walls and dark, ominous stains on the floor. In the center of this dreadful space, ensnared in silver chains so thick they seemed to weigh more than she did, was the most enormous white wolf she had ever seen. Leah stopped dead in the doorway, the lantern light revealing a scene of profound horror. The wolf was immense, with thick white fur that was now matted with blood and scorched black where the silver made contact. The chains coiled around his body from neck to tail, binding his limbs to his torso in a suffocating web. Silver smoke hissed where the metal burned through his flesh, and the stench of seared fur and meat was overwhelming. But it was the runes etched into the links that turned her blood to ice. They were symbols of dark magic, designed to suppress a shifter's healing and drain their power, a cruel practice outlawed by the Alpha Council. Someone had not only chained this wolf, they had cursed him to die a slow, agonizing death in this forgotten chamber. His eyes, the color of a winter sky, flickered open as the light touched him. He gazed at her with a mixture of agony and a desperate plea that fractured her heart. His breathing was shallow, each gasp a struggle. He had been here for days, left to perish in the darkness. She had to leave. This was a prisoner of great importance, meaning the Stonefang pack wanted him to suffer. Aiding him was treason, an act that would earn her a death far worse than her 7 years of servitude. But as she looked into those piercing blue eyes, she saw not just pain, but intelligence and a flicker of hope. The consequences no longer mattered. "I'm going to get you out," she whispered, setting the lantern down and approaching with care. "I don't know if you understand me, but I'm getting these chains off you. Just hold on." The wolf made a soft sound, a cross between a whine and a whimper, his gaze locked on her. Up close, his features were too noble for an ordinary wolf. He was a shifter, trapped in his animal form by the cursed runes. A shifter of his size and striking appearance had to be from a major pack. If he was important enough for this level of torture, his pack was surely searching for him. Leah reached for the nearest chain, feeling the familiar lack of heat in her palms that she had hidden her entire life. Silver did not burn her as it did other werewolves. It was a trait of her mixed blood, her hybrid nature that had caused her own pack to cast her out and left her vulnerable to capture. The Stonefans knew nothing of her resistance. She had feigned sickness from silver exposure like everyone else. If they knew she could handle it, they would have worked her to death. But in this moment, her curse was this wolf's only salvation. The chains were impossibly thick. Leah knew she couldn't break them by hand, but she knew where the tools were stored. She raced back to the main tunnel, grabbing bolt cutters, a hacksaw, and a pry bar from a supply locker. She worked for what felt like an eternity, her hands blistering and cramping as she sawed and wrenched at the enchanted metal. The wolf remained motionless, his labored breathing the only sign he was conscious. Leah spoke to him the entire time, a constant murmur of encouragement, begging him not to die. The binding runes fought back, tightening the remaining chains as each one was removed. But Leah was relentless, her spirit forged in 7 years of survival. When the final chain clanged to the stone floor, the wolf drew his first deep breath in days, his entire body shuddering. He looked at her with an expression of profound gratitude and something more, something she couldn't decipher. She began to gather the chains, desperate to erase any trace of her actions. The guards will be making their rounds soon. "You have to go," she urged, backing away. "Run. Get as far away as you can before they know you're gone." The wolf staggered to his feet, his legs trembling. He was too weak to get far, but she couldn't risk being caught with him. She turned to leave, but a voice, deep and human, stopped her. "Wait. L'Espoon Arond." The wolf was gone. In his place stood a man, naked and covered in silver burns, so tall he had to stoop beneath the low ceiling. His hair was the color of moonlight, and his face was a collection of sharp, aristocratic angles. His body was a tapestry of lean muscle, though clearly gaunt from starvation. But it was his eyes that stole her breath, the same piercing winter blue. She recognized those eyes from the fearful whispers of guards. She had just freed Kalen, the Alpha King of the Silver Moon Pack, the most powerful wolf in the region. He had been at war with Stonefang for years over their slave trade. He had come to negotiate a truce 5 days ago and vanished. He took a faltering step toward her. "You freed me," he rasped. "You touched silver to save me." Leah pressed herself against the wall, her mind reeling. "You need to leave. Now. If they find out I helped you, they'll slaughter everyone in the slave quarters. Every last one of them." Kalen shook his head, his gaze unwavering. I'm not leaving without you. By the law of the moon goddess, your life is now tied to mine. You belong with me." The words struck her like a physical blow. She had spent 7 years as someone's property. The dream of freedom, of belonging only to herself, was all that kept her going. "I don't belong to anyone," she snapped, her voice trembling with rage. "I saved you because it was the right thing to do, not to find a new master." An unreadable emotion crossed his face. "I misspoke," he began, then swayed, his strength failing him. Leah reacted instinctively, catching him before he collapsed, her arms struggling to support his weight. He was burning with fever. "You're going to die without help," she said, guiding him toward the tunnel entrance. "Can you walk?" His arm draped over her shoulders as he used her for support. "I can walk, but I won't leave you. If they discover what you did, they will kill you. You are coming with me." "I can't," she pleaded, even as she helped him move. "The others, they will be punished. I can't abandon them." "Then we will return for them," Kalen vowed, his voice gaining strength. "Once I am healed and have gathered my warriors, we will burn Stonefang to the ground and free every slave. But first, I must get you to safety." They stumbled through the tunnels and up the lift shaft to the surface. The cool night air was a shock after the mine's oppressive heat. The compound was quiet. "My territory is 3 days north," Kalen whispered. "If we can reach the border, my wolves will find us." Leah thought of the others in the slave quarters. Old Alara, who had taught her to read in the dirt. Young Milo, who dreamed of seeing his parents again. Lyra and Jackson, the bonded pair who survived by protecting one another. If she left, they would pay the price. But looking at Kalen, she knew she couldn't let him die. His life meant the survival of thousands. Perhaps he would keep his promise. 10 minutes, she said. "Give me 10 minutes to warn them." He studied her face, then nodded. 10 minutes. "But if anyone tries to stop you, you scream, and I will handle them." She ran to the slave barracks and found Alara awake, gazing at the stars. "Elara, listen, let whispered urgently. I freed the Silver Moon King. He's alive, and I'm leaving with him. When the guards find out, they'll come for everyone. You have to wake the others and run. Now." Alara's eyes widened. "Child, what have you done?" "What I had to," Leah replied, moving to rouse the others. "He promised to return with his army. You just have to survive until then." She woke as many as she could, her whispers spreading panic and hope in equal measure. Some began to pack their meager belongings. Others were too old or sick to flee. She did what she could, then returned to Kalen. "Some of them will run," she said, moving to support him again. "Then let's go," he replied, his strength fading fast. "We must be far from here by sunrise." They vanished into the forest, leaving behind the only world Leah had known for 7 years. With every step, Kalen grew heavier, the silver poisoning consuming him. By dawn, he could no longer walk, and they collapsed together on the forest floor. The poison had overwhelmed his healing abilities. "Listen," he rasped, his eyes finding hers. "In my boot a vial." Leah found a small glass container filled with a glowing blue liquid. "What is it?" "Concentrated wolfsbane and silver extract," he managed. "It will neutralize the poison. It will hurt, but it will keep me alive." She helped him drink it. The effect was immediate and horrific. His body convulsed in agony, and Leah held him as he screamed through clenched teeth. She could smell the silver being purged from his system as his shifter healing finally began to work. After minutes that felt like an eternity, he went limp, his fever breaking. "You've saved my life twice now," he said, his hand finding hers. "I owe you everything." "You owe me nothing," she replied, but he held her hand fast. "You risked everything for a stranger," he insisted. "You are either the bravest woman I have ever met or the most foolish." They rested for 2 hours. When Kalen awoke, he was stronger, able to walk on his own. As they traveled, he asked about her past. She hesitated, then told him about her pack's destruction. "Moonwater," she said, the name a painful memory. "We were small. We never stood a chance." Kalen's jaw tightened. "I heard of the massacre. The council condemned it, but did nothing. I was not yet king. Or I would have intervened, He explained that he had spent years trying to force Stonefang to end their slave trade, and his visit had been a final attempt at a peaceful resolution. Leah found herself studying him. He moved with a warrior's grace and possessed a commanding presence that was almost intimidating. And this powerful Alpha King had claimed her, a rejected hybrid, as his. "What did you mean," she asked suddenly, "when you said I belong with you?" He stopped, turned to face her. "I chose my words poorly. My wolf recognized you in that chamber. He recognized you as my mate. I felt the bond instantly. You are my true mate, Leah, chosen for me by the moon goddess." Leah stared at him, dumbfounded. The idea was preposterous. "That's impossible. True mates are a legend. The goddess works in mysterious ways," he said with a small smile. "It doesn't change what I felt. You are mine, and I am yours. It is not ownership. It is a partnership of two halves of a soul." Before she could argue, Kaelin tensed, scenting the air. "Wolves. At least 10 of them. Stonefang hunters. We have to run." He pulled her through the forest, but she couldn't keep up. "Leave me," she gasped. "Save yourself." "Never," he growled, pushing her behind a large tree. "I will shift and hold them off. You will run north. Do not stop until you are in my territory. My wolves will find you. Promise me you will run." She saw the certainty in his eyes and nodded. "I promise. But you had better survive this." He kissed her then, a fierce, claiming kiss that left her breathless. "Run," he commanded, his eyes glowing. And then he was gone, replaced by a massive white wolf who met the approaching hunters with a roar of challenge. Leah ran. She ran until her lungs burned and her legs gave out, collapsing at the edge of what she prayed was Silvermoon territory. The sound of the fight had faded. A low growl from her left made her scramble to her feet. She was surrounded by 6 enormous wolves. "Please," she gasped. "I'm with Kaelin. He sent me." The largest wolf, a scarred gray male, shifted into a man. "You're the one," he said, his voice gruff. "The one who freed our king. Where's he?" "He stayed behind to fight," she cried. 10 of them. You have to help him." The man barked orders, and 4 of the wolves sped back the way she had come. A brown-furred female shifted, introducing herself as Nyx, one of Kaelin's guards. "You are safe now," she said gently. "You are on Silvermoon land." They waited in agonizing silence. When the wolves returned, Kaelin was with them, in human form, covered in blood but alive. His eyes found Lee's, and he smiled. "Told you I'd survive." She ran to him, crashing into his chest. "You're an idiot," she sobbed. "A complete idiot." He held her close. "But I had you to fight for." The journey to the Silvermoon settlement took another day. The Pack lands were beautiful, a stark contrast to the darkness of the mines. At the center stood a palace of stone and dark wood. As they entered, the Pack wolves stared, their shock turning to joyous relief as they recognized their king. A woman with silver blonde hair rushed to embrace him. "I'm fine, Serena," Kaelin soothed her. "Thanks to this woman. Everyone, this is Leah. She saved my life." He paused, his hand warm on her back. "She is to be treated with all the honor due to my true mate and your future Luna." The announcement caused an uproar. Leah felt a flush of anger and embarrassment. "We need to talk," she said quietly. Now, in his private chambers, she confronted him. "You cannot keep doing that. I won't trade one master for another, no matter how gilded the cage." To her surprise, he looked ashamed. "You're right. I apologize. I keep trying to protect you by claiming you, but I am only taking away your choices." His sincerity disarmed her. "I don't want to be claimed," she said softly. "I just want to be free." "Then be free," he said. "Stay here as my guest. Leave if you wish. I will court you properly and let you decide if you want me. And if you do not, I will help you find whatever future you desire. Your happiness is more important than any prophecy." She saw only sincerity in his eyes. "I'll stay," she said finally. "For now. But we do this as equals." His smile was brilliant. "Equals. I can work with that." The following weeks were a period of adjustment. Kaelin was true to his word, giving her space while preparing for the inevitable war with Stonefang. The Pack's reaction to her was mixed. Some were grateful. Others were suspicious of a hybrid outsider. Leah found a place in the healing lodge under the tutelage of the head healer, Iris. It was Iris who noticed the faint silver scars on Lee's palms. "You're silver-touched," Iris said gently, her sharp eyes missing nothing. "A trait of your hybrid blood. You've been hiding it." Leah confessed her secret and her fear of being used. "Your grandmother was wise," Iris said, "but you're not in the mines now. You are in a pack that values its healers. A silver-touched healer is a treasure. You must tell Kalen yourself. Trust is the foundation of a mate bond." She told him that night. He listened patiently, and when she finished, understanding dawned in his eyes. "That's how you freed me. The chains, you touched them. I was afraid," she admitted, "that you would value the gift more than the woman." He took her hands. "I value you, Leah, the woman who risked everything. Your gift is part of you, but it is not why I want you. I want you because you are brave and compassionate and perfect." A knot of fear in her chest finally loosened. Over the next few months, she fell into a rhythm, making friends and learning to feel like she belonged. She spent her time with Kalen, and despite her reservations, she found herself falling for the king who treated everyone with respect, who played with pups in the courtyard, and who looked at her as if she were the most fascinating person in the world. Still, she feared the bond, feared losing the freedom she had just found. It was Elder Valerius who offered her clarity. "You think of the bond as a chain," the old wolf said kindly. "It is not. It does not remove your agency. It means you are stronger together. A true bond only thrives on mutual respect. It is not slavery. It is having someone who will fight for your freedom as fiercely as they fight for their own." 3 months after her arrival, Leah went to Kalen's office. "I want to complete the bond," she said, the words tumbling out. "I want to be your mate. I trust you." He pulled her into his arms, his relief a palpable wave through the air. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure," she said, her heart steady. "I'm ready." The mating ceremony was held under the full moon. As they exchanged vows, and he marked her, the bond snapped into place, a current of love and devotion flowing between them. She could feel his mind touching hers, filled not with dominance, but with reverence for her as his equal. She marked him in return, and the pack howled their approval, a song of new beginnings. She was no longer a slave or an outcast. She was Luna of the Silver Moon Pack, and she was finally free. The celebration was cut short by the arrival of a group of ragged shifters at the border. It was Alara, Milo, and a dozen others from the mines. "We ran, like you said," Alara cried, embracing Leah. "Stonefang is preparing for war. They mean to attack, to punish you both." Kalen's arm tightened around Leah. "Let them come," he said, his voice like steel. He turned to Alara and the others. "You are welcome here. You are free wolves now, under my protection." The following months were tense. Kalen sent a rescue team, led by Nyx and including a determined Leah, to infiltrate the mines. Her knowledge of the layout and her ability to handle the silver chains allowed them to free 47 more captives. The war, when it came, was brutal, but the Silver Moon Pack, joined by other packs disgusted with Stonefang's cruelty, fought with righteous fury. In the end, the Stonefang Alpha was slain and his pack dismantled. Years later, Luna Leah would often share her story with other survivors who sought refuge with her pack. She told them of cutting silver chains from a dying wolf who became a king, of choosing hope over fear, and of finding love without sacrificing freedom. "I was property for 7 years," she would say, taking their hands. "The moon goddess gave me a gift I was taught to fear and led me to a king who saw me as a person first. He could have commanded me, but he chose to be my partner." She would gesture to Kalen, who still looked at her with the same adoration as the day they met. That is how you know you have found the right person. They do not trap you. They make you strong enough to be free. And those former slaves would leave her presence with their heads held high, believing that their past did not dictate their future, and that they, too, deserved a love that championed their freedom.